Hello, this is your lecture for Week 7 material over exercises 7 through 10 on the body's tissues, which are the epithelial, connective, muscle, and neural tissues. So let's get into this by starting with the epithelial tissue. These are tissues that line or cover the body and organs. The picture here shows intestinal epithelia, and the free surface would be all these cells exposed to the cavity, or the top of the picture, and the basal lamina is the site of attachment to the connective tissue, which would be the bottom of the picture. One of the first types of epithelial tissue will be the simple epithelial tissue. The main functions of these are diffusion, absorption, and secretion. These tissues are characterized by being only one cell thick. Simple squamous epithelium are the flattened cells. There are two divisions of this. You have the mesothelium, which is the lining of serous membranes, and endothelium, which is the lining of blood vessels. Simple cuboidal epithelium are cubical in shape, and they often line ducts. Simple columnar epithelium are stretched out and long. These are found within the digestive tract. Moving on, we have stratified epithelia, which are tissues that have layers of cells. They're often found in areas of abrasion, where cells will need to be constantly replaced. Stratified squamous tissues form the superficial layer of the skin, known as the epidermis. It can also manufacture keratin, which toughens the cells but also kills them. Stratified cuboidal tissue is uncommon and found in some sweat glands. Stratified columnar epithelium can be found in mammary and salivary glands. Another form of epithelial tissue is pseudostratified epithelia, and this one can be tricky because it appears to be stratified since there are multiple layers of nuclei. However, every cell is attached to the basement membrane, and thus it's only one cell layer thick. The final type of epithelial tissue is transitional epithelium, and this lines the organs of the body that need to stretch, such as the urinary bladder. This one is hard to classify because it comes in many shapes and sizes and can be multiple cells thick. On to the second major division of tissues, connective tissue. This is extremely important for the body as it provides structural support for many other tissues. This image shows areolar tissue, which is a classic example of loose connective tissue. You can see how there's lots of space in between the cells and seemingly random structural supports going through this space or matrix. Some basic vocab connected to the connective tissue is matrix, which is a combination of protein fibers and ground substance, which is secreted by connective tissue cells. It's pretty much all the space in between the cells themselves. Then you have collagen fibers, which give additional strength, elastic fibers, which provide flexibility, and reticular fibers, which are interwoven proteins found only in reticular tissues. You can see this in the picture on this slide. All of the black lines are reticular fibers. All connective tissue originates from mesenchyme, which is an unspecialized tissue found in the embryo. Mesenchymal cells can differentiate to create all sorts of connective tissues. You can create cartilage, bone, blood, lymph, loose tissue, or dense tissue. So it isn't very specialized, highly differentiated. Starting with areolar tissue, it's a form of loosely packed connective tissue proper, and it has an open framework. Its main functions are to cushion organs and other tissues, as well as provide structural and nutritional support, and to allow immune cells to quickly diffuse to other parts of the body. Adipose tissue is where fat is stored for energy and is another example of loose connective tissue. This is abundant deep to the skin and in the butt and breasts. Reticular tissue forms the internal supporting framework for soft organs such as the liver, kidney, and spleen. As a framework of reticular fibers, as I stated earlier, and here's that same image showing those fibers. Now we have dense regular connective tissue. This consists mainly of collagen or elastic fibers, and these are organized into thick bands which are all running parallel to each other. These can be found between skeletal muscles or bones and function as attachments or to reduce the friction between muscles. Dense irregular connective tissue is aptly named, having a much more unusual appearance than the regular tissue. This is a mesh of collagen fibers with interspersed fibroblasts and is located at nerve and muscle sheaths as well as capsules of visceral organs. It functions to provide strength to resist forces from several directions and to prevent overexpansion. So to compare regular and irregular tissues, the regular has fibers that are all aligned and provide support in one direction, while irregular has fibers all over the place to provide support in many directions. Elastic tissue is the last connective tissue proper to cover and is filled with elastic fibers rather than collagen fibers. This allows for the stabilization of vertebrae and the penis and allows expansion/contraction of these organs. Another form of connective tissue is blood. This is a liquid tissue and consists of many different formed elements or cells and plasma, which is liquid. Blood is found in blood vessels, and red blood cells function to provide oxygen and nutrients while removing waste. Other blood cells include platelets and white blood cells, which clot blood and provide immune support respectively. The APR code for this week is also on this slide. Hyaline cartilage is the most common cartilage and found throughout the body. Its main functions are support and cushioning, and is characterized by its lack of fibers in the matrix. Elastic cartilage, on the other hand, is easily distinguished from hyaline cartilage as it has lots of fibers in the matrix. However, it has the same general functions as hyaline cartilage. Fibrocartilage is very strong and durable and is characterized by the presence of irregular collagen fibers in the matrix. This is found in joints and functions to limit bone movement. Bone tissue is the final connective tissue we will cover, and you guys should already know this in depth, so I'm not going to go over all the different cell parts. On to our third division of tissues, which is muscles. The first category of muscle tissue is skeletal. This connects bones via tendons, and the defining characteristics are long cylindrical fibers that are striated and multinucleated. What this means, you can see the striations in this image as the parallel bands within the fibers, and each fiber contains multiple nuclei. The functions of skeletal tissues are stability, movement, openings, heat, and protection. Skeletal tissues are also under voluntary control. Cardiac tissue is the second form of muscle tissue. This is composed of cardiocytes and almost the opposite of skeletal tissue, as the fibers are short and branched, each being uninucleated. The one similarity is that both of these forms are striated. Cardiocytes are also connected by intercalated discs, which are shown by the arrows in this image. These are under involuntary control and only located in the heart, where they help to circulate blood and maintain blood pressure. The third and final form of muscle tissue is smooth muscle. This is short, spindle-like, non-striated, and uninucleated. The best way to differentiate smooth muscles is the lack of striations. These are found within the digestive, respiratory, urinary, and reproductive organs and function to move substances via peristaltic motion. This tissue is under involuntary control. The final tissue we will be covering is neural tissue. Neurons are the main contributor to this category and are the cells that receive, interpret, and send electrical signals throughout the body. The cell body, or soma, surrounds the nucleus and has dendrites entering it, which receive information from other neurons. Received signals from the dendrites then move down the axon, which is covered in myelin, all the way to the synaptic terminal or axon terminal. At the terminal, there are synaptic vesicles that contain neurotransmitters which can propagate the signal to the next neuron, and so on. Neuroglia is a supportive tissue of the nervous system and includes glial cells. There are 6 types of neuroglia: astrocytes, which attach to blood vessels and anchor neurons; microglia, which do general housekeeping; ependymal cells, which line the spaces of the brain and spine; oligodendrocytes, which myelinate the central nervous system; Schwann cells, which myelinate the peripheral nervous system; and satellite cells, which regulate the environment. This should cover all you need to know for this week's material over tissues, and good luck with all of your assignments.